In this video, we will see how to create this type of drop-down component which can have this hover interaction and click interactions. These type of components can be used in the designs like this onboarding form for selecting a company size or maybe the industry type. So without any further ado, let's get started. The drop-down component is consist of three elements. One is the options, the second one is options wrapper, and third one is a drop-down itself. Let's create our default variant in the options. Type your option text and select the text style from our design system for this text, and then change the color to our text primary color. Then go to the assets panel and drag and drop any icon you like. While the icon is selected, change the size to 16 pixels and change the icon color to the text color as well. Select both the icon and the option text and wrap it in auto layout. Adjust the gap between them, change the left and the right padding to 16 pixels, and then the top and the bottom padding as 8 pixels. Here, giving the width of 250 pixels for now. Then go to the fill color and change it to the white color. Then go to the stroke options and change the color to a lighter neutral color. And change the stroke option to the top only. Then we have this hover state. For the hover state, go to the fill options and change the fill color to a lighter primary color. Then we have this click state. For the click state, change the fill color to a slightly darker primary color. Then for the next state, which is selected, duplicate our default element and change the text and icon color to a slightly darker primary color. And finally, we have this disable state. For the disable state, again duplicate the default element and change the icon and text color to a slightly lighter neutral color. Now select all the elements in these options and go to the component option, and from this drop down click on this create component set option to create our options component set. Rename this component frame to drop down options. Once done, select our option text and then click on this option to select all the matching layers for the option text. Then click on this variable to create a text property. Here give it a name as option text and change the value as you like. Then click on this create property button. This will create a text property for our component. You can change the text directly from here. Now we have to change the property name as well. So click on the default component and here change the property as state and change the value as default. Now for the hover state, it will be hover and so on for the other states. Now if you see in the instance, we'll get this drop down option to change the state of our components. Now we also have this icon. Select icon in the default variant. Then click on this option to select all the matching layers of the icon. Now go to the appearance and click on this variable option to create a visibility property for this icon. Give it a name as icon visible and click on the create option. Now if you see in the instance, we'll get this toggle option to show or hide the icon. Now select our component frame and then click on this plus icon to create an instance swap for the icon. Give it a name as you like, and from the value select the icon in our design system. Now again select our icon in the component and select all the matching icons and apply this to our instance property by clicking here. Now if you see the instance, you will get this instance swap property for the icons. Now if you want to reorder, you can select the frame and reorder the properties as you like. Now for our next element, which is the options wrapper, drag and drop the options instance here. The options wrapper element have multiple variants. Select our instance and duplicate. Select both and add it in the auto layout. Now this will be our two options. So rename this frame as two options. Drag and duplicate this frame for the three options. Select our bottom instance in that frame and duplicate that instance and rename this frame as three options. Again repeat the process for the four options and five options. Now select all the frames and in the stroke option add a stroke of a lighter neutral color here. The stroke won't be visible by default, so click on this clip content option for the outer stroke. Then add a corner radius of 4 pixels. Then again select all the frames and from the components drop down option select this create component set option for this options wrapper and again rename this layer as options wrapper. Can select the options frame and change the property as options count. And now if you go to the instance, you'll see this drop down to change the count of the options. Now drag this instance in our third element, which is a drop down itself. This drop down component will have two variants as closed and opened. For the drop down closed variant, we have to create a drop down selection options. So type a text for the title of the drop down option. Change the size from our design system and change the color to our text color. Next, for the placeholder text, type your text here and change the styles from the right panel and change the color. Then from the assets panel, drag and drop our icon. Now select both icon and text and add it in the auto layout. Then give a padding of 8 pixels on sides and 8 pixels on top and bottom. Here also changing the width as 250 pixels for now. Then select the text and change its width to fill container. Adjust the gap between them. Select the frame and add a corner radius of 4 pixels. Then add a fill color of white from our design system. Then add a stroke of a lighter neutral color here. Select both the title and this drop down option frame and add it in the auto layout. Adjust the gap between them. Now select our instance and this frame and again add it in the auto layout. Change the gap as the 0 pixels here. Now hold Ctrl and reduce the height. Now if you click on this clip content option, this will be our closed variant for the drop downs. Now drag and duplicate this option and for the open variant just uncheck the clip content option. Select both the frames and from the component drop down click on this create component set option and rename this frame to drop downs. Now here rename this property as open and for the first variant rename the value as no and for the second variant rename the value as yes. Now if you drag your instance from this component you'll get this toggle option to change the variant. Now we also need to change the icon, so from the icon library change the icon to the top chevron. Now select the title text and add a variable for the text property. Again repeat the process for the placeholder text. Now in the second variant, you can change the icons and the option text directly from the right panel. Now if you drag and drop the instance, you'll get these property options in the right panel. Now in the next step, let's prototype the interactions between the component variants. Select the default option and from here connect it to the hover state and here select the trigger as while hovering. Then from the hover to click, change the trigger to while pressing. Now if you see the prototype of the main dropdown, you'll get this hover interaction and click interaction. Now we also need to add interaction for the closed and the open state. So in the component frame, connect this to our open state and here select the interaction as click. Again repeat the process from the open state to closed state. And this will be your final prototype for the dropdown. So that is it for this video. If you haven't already watched the previous parts, you can watch by clicking on this playlist.